Big, massive dumps.
Who's got a hammer?
It's like a shark in NATO, except with poop.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
Bullshit.
No.
This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerated. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Hey, what up? Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, it's Thursday. We got a show for you. Oh, yeah. Jeff was spicy in TDR chat today. I don't even know what that means, but I'm leaving it that way. No, I was only slightly, I guess. I was like a mild pepper, I guess. Not too spicy, but you know, a little bit. Yeah, maybe. All right. Anyway, I know some of you tuning in are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" All right, we'll leave it at that. But yes, no, not salty, acidic. Let's just say that. All right, just finished breakfast tostadas. They were delicious. I don't know if that was a reference to Joe Biden's breakfast taco. Breakfast. What was it? Breakfast taco or breakfast burrito? I don't quite remember. But I do know that it was pretty offensive, whatever it is that they said. All right. So, anyway, we got plenty of stories. We have, yes, the return of Pillow Talk. Fun. We have Matt Walsh going Karen. That's always fun, dunking on Matt Walsh for being a transphobe. We also have Louis Gohmert making some nonsense claims during hearings on post-Roe America. We also have another Republican congressman joining into the clown show on that. I mean, just clowns all around. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. And so here we are. We're stuck in the middle, aren't we? We have Matt Gaetz, that is making an interesting accidental admission. I'm sorry, admission, not accidental emission. Oops. Oh, wow, that's quite a Freudian slip on that one. Although you get him near some, you know, younger people, younger women, then Matt Gaetz might accidentally also make some emissions. Not good. You know, since he seems to be a bit of a predator. A little bit. All right, so now we also have updates on the January 6th stuff. And is your ring spying on you? Yes, but even worse, is your data ending up in the hands of the police? Also, yes. I've got the details on that. So if you haven't already, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. That said, let's do it. Let's jump in.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
Mike Pillow is very excited. He has just recently popped back up, claiming that he's got the evidence. This time, it's for real, not like the last time, or the time before that, or the time before that, or the time before that. This time, it's real. We got the real evidence. In fact, here he is.
I got news this morning that there was very big, everybody, pieces of evidence, cyber evidence from the 2020 election that we didn't even know before that now we have. I'm just like so excited. Validated.
He then went on to not give any details. Because of course he did. But trust me, bro, this is going to be big. It's big. I'm feeling very, very validated. Very validated indeed. Really? About what? No, look, I know why he's excited. And it's not because he has new evidence. No. This only means one thing, that he is low on cash and needs to fundraise. That's it. That's why he's back. He went on to say, we've got a new tech guy. We've got a tech guy that, we got new sources, right? No, you don't. At least none that are trustworthy at all. Mike Lindell is as full of as much fluff as his damn pillows. If you open up Mike Lindell, you'll find that he's both full of air and shredded Chinese newspaper. Oh, maybe that's why he's so focused on China. Yeah, you know how I know that China did our vote? You know how I know? It's the newspapers. The newspapers are inside me. He's that crazy of a person. Or maybe Jesus spoke to him. I don't know. But what I do know is if you still believe Mike Lindell, if you still think that he's got the evidence to overturn the election, which was 2 years ago, get over it, dude. If you still believe him, and again, unfortunately, you have a lot of Republicans that do, a lot of right-wingers, and yes, even some so-called Democrats that are like, oh, I don't know about the election. It might be stolen by Joe Biden. No, you're either the dumbest, most gullible people on the planet, or you're insane. At this point, there is no middle ground that's left. I don't know what else I have to say on that. I was going to say full of coke, but what do I know? You probably know more than Mike Pillow. That's for sure. I wonder if he eats a bowl of shredded newspapers. Wouldn't surprise me. Oh, it's full of extra fiber. Oh, good. You need that fiber because you're full of shit. Full of pillow stuffing. How do you know that pillow stuffing isn't Chinese newspapers? All right, anyway. Let's move on to the next story here. Go to Matt Walsh. Noted transphobe Matt Walsh is crying again. So he's doing what he normally does and what he's great at, I guess. On social media, Walsh shared an article and then his own personal anecdote about Chipotle. He said, I went to Chipotle and they said they can only take orders online because they're understaffed. I asked why I couldn't just tell him my order since he's standing right in front of me. He said he doesn't have the staff to take my order verbally, but can take it online. The sad part is that like half a dozen people were actually complying and standing at the counter typing their orders into their phones. None of them questioned why they had to do it that way. And none of them questioned. Right? Well, first off, again, cry more. Because that's what he's doing, ultimately, being a super Karen and say, well, why can't I just give you my order for my burrito? Well, let me tell you the reason. The reason that they tell you to order online is because, again, it gets you put into the system without having the employees sit there being able to take your order, without them having to do it. Instead, what they can do is focus on making and serving your food. Again, we're talking about understaffed, okay? If you don't have enough people, it's a waste of manpower to have one person sit up there and take your order when you can literally just do it from your phone. And the way that Chipotle is set up, by the way, is that they have two different lines. They have one line for online orders and they have one line for in-person orders. But if you don't have enough people to then take the orders that are not online, because you're too busy, stretching your people out to the limit to be able to make all those orders and get them out, again, it makes sense to shut down the in-person line. They just don't have enough people, and there's a reason for that. Now, Matt Walsh, of course, does not care about workers. He doesn't care about fast food workers. They're all servants to him. Lowly servants. How dare you? Why don't you just take my order? Why don't you just treat me special and put me first? It's all about me, 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 me. That's it with Matt Walsh and a lot of these right-wingers. Now, that said, I'm not defending Chipotle. Chipotle also doesn't give a damn about their own workers. They could solve their staffing issues by paying people better, by paying people a living wage. They don't. In my state, for example, the average Chipotle team member makes about $22,946 a year. That's actually 30% lower than the national average. So they don't make a lot of money here. And even if you're making $15 an hour, remember that's $30,000 a year. That's not very much. Not very much at all. So the pay is so bad, you can understand why nobody wants to work there. So what Chipotle does is instead of raising their prices, or I'm sorry, not prices, they do raise their prices, by the way, but instead of raising their pay for their workers, they instead make sure that these stores are so vastly understaffed that they could squeeze out every little bit of productivity for their employees while reducing their own costs. Now, it's gotten so bad to the point where you have a lot of these workers that have had enough and they've quit. Now, one example here was Peter Guerra, who was a general manager for 6 months at a Schofield Farms Chipotle location in Austin, Texas. Now, he'd actually worked there for about 5 years, and he told Business Insider, quote, "My store was severely understaffed. This was last year. We struggled just to keep our heads above water with less and less support from management." He added that he was regularly scheduled to work 80 hours a week. Now, let me just stop there. Matt Walsh, do you work 80 hours a week? Do you? This guy does. Busting his ass. But you don't care about him. You just rather get your food, your burrito, or whatever. Now, he also said he had often had to work additional hours to cover for other employees who had quit and left gaps in staffing. And again, I don't blame them for quitting because the pay and the hours are so terrible. Now, some Chipotle workers also previously told Insider that it's hard to keep up, of which the rapid rate of which digital orders had stacked up, which again has happened at Guerra's store. Before he had quit, he was running both the order counter and doing these digital orders, because again, they had those two different lines. And he remembered, and he told the story to Insider, that there were so many people stacked out all the way to the door, and then they had so many digital orders that they couldn't handle all of them because they were so understaffed. They ended up shutting down the line inside the store. And by the way, before you think the customers were angry, no, the customers understood. Surprisingly enough, a lot of the people who were waiting in line were sympathetic and said, look, I get it. In fact, one of them told Insider that they could see the burnout on the employees' faces. But not if you're Matt Walsh. If you're Matt Walsh, you're like, oh, why am I not getting my food right now the way that I want it? Why are you going to make me order on my phone? What, do you not have a cell phone? I mean, again, you're a wealthy person, so very likely you should have a phone. But no, it's too inconvenient for you. And that's the big problem. Guerra then said the constant pressure to serve so many customers at once made it seem like he was being set up by management to fail by the company's leadership. These are the people that are making millions of dollars in executive bonuses, stock buybacks their companies are doing, and they received all this money and still really haven't done a whole lot to raise wages. I think Chipotle did say, oh, we're going to do $15 an hour. Not enough. Not enough. Should be a lot more for the stuff that they're putting people through. And again, if you want to keep employees, that's what you're going to have to do. But no, these people would rather wreck the economy. These corporate executives, they'd rather wreck the economy and drive prices down, or I'm sorry, not prices, but drive wages down while keeping their prices high. So, but here's the thing. Matt Walsh doesn't care. He wants his goddamn burrito. He wants it now. All right, if you want it, go make your own, bitch. Go make your own goddamn burrito. And so the problem I have with people like Matt Walsh is that they have this entitled mentality to other people's labor. Okay? Without, again, them getting compensated fairly for that labor. And that's what's happening today. People are not getting compensated fairly for the things that they do. In fact, it seems like the lazier that you are, the more that you end up getting paid. And the people who work the hardest often get paid the least. But here's the thing, too. On that, Matt Walsh wouldn't survive a day in an actual kitchen. No way. Doing actual work, the boy is too soft. Too soft. Too, paper thin skin. Would never last. I don't think he's worked a day in his life. Now, I actually have. I've worked in factories. I've worked in grocery stores. I used to take general merchandise and groceries off trucks. I used to stock shelves. I've worked in a kitchen. I've done work. Matt Walsh, I guarantee he hasn't done a damn thing. What does Matt Walsh do all day? He complains about transgender people and obsesses about their genitals. That's who Matt Walsh is. What a sad, sad man. All right, moving on.
The younger you can get a girl started on birth control, the better the odds are that she'll forget to take the pill, she'll get pregnant, and then she'll have an abortion.
That was Louis Gohmert making another one of his stupidly false statements during a hearing on the reversal of Roe. Now, of course, Roe had been reversed by the right-wing zealots on the Supreme Court. These are religious zealots that only believe in a certain interpretation, a fundamentalist interpretation of the Christian religion. They should not be Supreme Court justices. They should all be removed. They don't believe in the Constitution. They don't believe in the country, and neither does people like Louis Gohmert. So now let's go get one thing straight about Gohmert. He is not only stupid, but also crazy. What he said there is absolutely false. No, Planned Parenthood is not trying to get girls early to get on birth control so that they'll somehow fail and then get abortions anyway. This is ridiculous. This is dumb. The whole point of birth control is to not get pregnant in the first place. You lying sack of crap. But let me tell you what, this argument really illustrates Louis Gohmert's thought process. Believe it or not, he actually does have a thought process. Even if it is very simple and very stupid, it is there. And in that thought process, he thinks very, very low of women and girls. It's true. Oh, they'll just forget. They'll forget to take the pill. They'll get pregnant, and then they'll go get an abortion. Now, what a high opinion of women you have, of the ladies. You must be very, very popular with them, thinking that, number one, they are all sluts with very poor memory and organizational or management skills. Asshole. Total asshole. So, not that it matters, but women take birth control for many different reasons other than to prevent pregnancy. And I say who cares because guess what? It's their right. It's their body. They can take it for whatever goddamn reason that they want. So shut the fuck up and stop obsessing about their wombs, you creepy old man. I'm really, really sick of crusty old white guys like that obsessing about young women's bodies and feeling like they are entitled to control them based on their flawed interpretation of the Bible. I don't care what the Bible says. I'm not religious. If you are, that's fine. That's cool. I don't have any problem with that. You do your thing as long as your thing does not affect anyone else. You believe in your religion. You have the right under the Constitution, but you do not have the right to control anyone else. It is called the First Amendment, bitch. All right? Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. I believe in your right to follow your religion. If you don't want to take birth control, you don't have to. You don't want to get an abortion, you don't have to. But there's nowhere that says that you can tell everyone else what they can do with their own bodies. This guy, and this is what sucks so much about this, he is a sitting U.S. congressperson. And he doesn't even understand the Constitution, much less basic female anatomy. It's pathetic, and even more so, the types of lies that he has to peddle about Planned Parenthood. Okay? So understand that most abortions are done very early in the stages of pregnancy. Very few are done in the later stages, and when they are, it's mostly because the fetus is not viable and the woman's life is in danger. But Gohmert and the rest of these zealots, they don't care about women. They don't care about babies because once they're born, they just throw bootstraps at them. No paid leave, no maternity care, no child tax credits, no food stamps. All they do is throw, again, the bootstraps at them and say, here you go, while making absolutely no real effort to prevent those children from being gunned down in their classrooms later on in life. So no, this guy is ridiculous. And by the way, there are methods of birth control that actually don't rely on just taking a pill. And so there are those other options, but guess what? Republicans are also trying to ban those and other forms of birth control or all birth control. Yes, there are people out there, even Thomas on the Supreme Court says, oh, we ought to take a look at that. That decision that, basically allowed women to be able to take birth control inside of their own marriages. It's all ridiculous. It's all a way to try to control women's bodies, and it's disgusting. But that's who these people are. Oh, absolutely disgusting. We got more on those kinds of people. Republican Representative Ralph Norman completely embarrassed himself during an exchange with 3 women during a hearing on abortion. Take a look.
You agree with infanticide?
Well, I think you're using inflammatory language to basically describe a situation that does not happen. We don't have infanticide happening. Doctors would not do that, and neither would folks who have carried pregnancy.
Okay, would a healthy
and
child,
later-
do you agree if a healthy child is born, that it's that woman's right to decide if it lives or dies?
What I think is, based on your question, you have a very low opinion of pregnant people. Because if you think
No,
that anybody would carry...
answer the question.
Excuse me.
Answer the question.
I'm answering it. Do you
No,
want
you're
to
not.
You want
I
to
will
answer,
take it
or
that
you
you
want to keep
agree.
talking over witnesses? What I'm
No,
telling
no.
you is nobody would carry a pregnancy and then decide on a Monday because they are bored that they want to have an abortion. That's ridiculous. And it's inflammatory. What you're saying, you're talking about families who are in tough situations where folks have been excited about carrying a pregnancy. Most of the abortions that happen later in pregnancy are really tragedies where it's really a disappointment for everyone involved.
But you agree with, I take it with all those words, you do agree with basically murdering a child after they're born.
I take it with all those words that I didn't listen to a damn thing that you said, and I'm just going to go on with my talking points that were written for me by somebody else, because I'm not smart enough to do anything but read off a card. I'm Ralph Norman. Fuck off. Look, let me just give some credit here. Democratic Representative Renita Shannon, who pushed back on this. She's awesome. But how do you answer that question, right? Now, she did the best she could. I think she did a great job because it was an obvious gotcha question. They're not having conversations in good faith. And you literally say, oh, you believe in infanticide, killing babies after they're born. No, she doesn't. That would be literal murder. And we already have laws against that. That is not happening. That is not actually a real thing. But what he was doing, Norman was looking for a soundbite. And when he didn't get it, he decided, I'm going to say this thing anyway, because I didn't listen to a damn thing that woman said. I already have my talking points. And I'm going to continue to repeat them, even though they're verifiably false and, as she pointed out, inflammatory. Again, there was more. Okay, there's more to this. It gets worse.
How you just characterize the representative's statement is extremely inflammatory and the type of thing that it's dangerous.
And what
you guys have been talking today about the threats against crisis pregnancy centers, which I assume are serious and are terrible. The threats that people who work on abortion access take every single day.
I'm assuming
and
that you're
part of
for
it is
infanticide.
because of this sort
I would
of
also say that her
outrageous
language that
language,
health.
it is
Madam
not
Chair,
okay.
Gentleman's time.
Congressman, ask the
He's
question.
reclaiming his time.
It's funny, as soon as she makes a good point that counteracts his absolute bullshit and how this is actually endangering people, all the rhetoric about murdering babies after they're born, which just doesn't happen, it's just priming people for violence against, doctors who perform abortions, medically necessary. He doesn't want to hear it, though. Doesn't want to hear it at all. No, he filibustered. Now, look, these doctors that perform abortions, I mean, again, you heard about probably have heard about the 10-year-old who had to go to cross the state lines to be able to get an abortion to get rid of a rapist's baby, okay? Now the Republicans are looking into that doctor in Indiana. I mean, that's absolutely insane. Insane. But these people have also been targeted by right-wing zealots, right-wing terrorists for decades. It's disgusting. And then, she tries to push back, and I think that's great. He talks over her, shuts her down, and then uses his power as a congressman to make sure that she cannot speak. It's disgusting, right? Also, he can say false and stupid talking points that he can use for a goddamn campaign ad when he runs for re-election. And that's it. Let me be clear. He and the others, they don't care about babies. They don't care about children. He's a member of a party that does not believe in any kind of welfare. He doesn't believe in helping the poor, doesn't believe in helping the needy, doesn't believe in gun control. So those kids, you know, can be shot up in a school by a madman who is able to legally get a gun very easily and doesn't care about making sure the planet is livable for the babies. So please, spare me, Republicans. Spare me, right-wingers. You want to argue that you're small government? Really? You want to argue that you're pro-life? No, these people are not pro-life. They're pro-control. And you can see that when he refuses to let these women speak because they're not saying exactly what he wants them to say. So he can get his little soundbite. Now, I love these women. They're fierce advocates. And I'm sorry that they had to deal with idiots like, Louis Gohmert and Ralph Norman. I'm embarrassed that we have members of Congress in our country that think that they know better than science and fact and reality and think that they can talk over people who will never, like Ralph Norman will never have the experience of of getting pregnant, needing an abortion, having an ectopic pregnancy, a non-viable fetus that there will be forced to carry for term. He'll never have that experience. But millions of women out there do, and they're affected by people like Ralph Norman. And so, people like that are absolutely disgusting, and they don't belong anywhere near power. Okay. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break. We'll take some comments during this break, and then we'll come back. We got Matt Gaetz. You're going to love that segment as well. Stay right here. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Waldorf Nation. So we're going to read a couple of, or I should say thank a couple of Twitch members. Occam's Taser. Oh, that was actually on yesterday. Sorry. Nothing new on Twitch here, but let's go to YouTube. $2 too. Thank you for the very kind $5. Struggling with motivation at work today, but thank you for playing my request of the old Trump intro. It always puts me in a great mood. Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Hey, you know how it is, right?
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. I'm cognitively there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. That's that on YouTube. So again, if you want to help us out, you know, we send a super chat, and you can also become a subscriber on Twitch. You can help us out there, or a member on YouTube, all that wonderful stuff. All right. Let's see. Just a couple of other non super chat comments here. Let's see. I find the whole argument of medical reasoning a waste of time. They don't care. This is about taking agency away from women. Yes, this is. But I think the important thing of pointing that out, though, the medical and science stuff, is for people that they're trying to convince. Because again, they have to lie to people. That's what the entire pregnancy crisis centers are about. They go out and they, purposely put out disinformation. Yeah, the medical reasoning isn't on their side. It never was, which is why they have to lie and trick people. That's why they have to talk about post-birth abortions, which again, definitely not a thing, but it sounds scary, and they can market it to their audience, because the one thing that they do have is that a lot of people, again, that are right-wing, they don't think. No thought required. We're going to tell you everything. No critical thinking. All we need to do is just give you something that sounds like it's plausible and is very simple. Their messaging is very easy to digest. And so that's why their messaging is so effective. But when it comes to left-wing messaging, we understand that there are things like nuance, and we understand that there's facts. And that makes our messages a little bit more difficult to get out, to challenge the very simplistic messaging that's more black and white from the right wing. If you can understand that. And again, right-wingers don't do nuance. Madi Darno says abortion is medical procedure equals healthcare equals not up for debate. Fuck that right-wing brain rot. True. If the audience falls for that, they have a lot more problems than us just telling them the truth can fix. Sometimes, you have to deprogram people from that right-wing messaging, and it does happen, and it can happen, and not everybody who's conservative is a lost cause. I know there are quite a few that are, but you can, for certain people, and I've seen a lot of examples of this, you can convince people to leave the right wing by offering them facts. It is hard to combat simple, repeatable buzzwords. Yes, but it can be done. It can be done. All right. That said, let's go to simple people, I should say, and simple thoughts. Matt Gaetz. Oh. There we go. Representative Matt Gaetz recently admitted, although likely on accident, that the United States is filled with shootings. Lots and lots of shootings.
And so one has to ask, what is the true purpose of this bill? Why do the Democrats want to use the power of government to bombard your cell phone with active shooter alerts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? It's because they want you to be afraid of the Second Amendment. It's because they want you to be afraid of responsible gun ownership, and they hope that if they program you and bombard you long enough, that you'll hate your own Second Amendment rights, or that you may tattle on your neighbor who is lawfully and rightfully exercising theirs.
So he doesn't want your phone being bombarded with active shooter alerts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, why would that be? Why would your phone be blowing up with so many active shooter alerts? Oh, right. It's because this country is in the hands of a death cult that has allowed guns for everyone. And there are guns everywhere, thanks to these lunatics. Shootings happen all the time. And here's Matt Gaetz saying, I know when they happen all the time. That's why I don't want you to know about it. If you hear about it, then you might actually want to do something to stop it. Oh, and we can't have that. So he thinks that that's a bad thing. Now, the bill he's referring to would create an active shooter alert system that would function locally, similar to how an Amber Alert works. So it warns you of a shooting in your area. Now, of course, Gaetz, you heard him. He says it's basically a nefarious agenda, using the big power of big government to blast all these messages to your phone. Really? You want to talk about big government? You want big government to control a person's uterus. You want people tattling on their neighbors for getting abortions. Florida, where Matt Gaetz is a congressperson, wants teachers to tattle on gay kids for being gay or trans. Wants you to run to their parents, the teachers run to their parents under force of law to tell them that they're gay or trans. So really, you want to talk about big government? You want to talk about tattling? Come on. Matt Gaetz. By the way, Texas also wants people that their anti-abortion, their abortion ban, literally sets it up where people will tell on each other if you think that another person is getting an abortion or that another person is providing said abortion. So please, you want to talk about that? We can talk about that all day. No, look, when it comes down to it, this bill, it might save some lives potentially, okay, but it's not gun control. It's not dangerous. It's not what Gaetz is saying that, it's not the way that he is painting this bill, okay? He's calling this absolutely like nefarious and a way to try to destroy your Second Amendment rights, to make you do it. The whole thing is absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous. No, Gaetz wants you to remain ignorant of the sheer number of shootings going on in this country. That's the whole goal of this. Now remember, no other country has this problem. No other country in the developed world has to deal with the amount of shootings that we have in this country every single day. Not only does Gaetz not want to do anything about it, but he also, again, doesn't want you to know about it. He just wants you to remain ignorant and in the dark of what's actually happening, even if it could potentially save your life. This is an incredibly warped person, very, very messed up individual, and what he's doing is he's pandering to the fringe minority of people who happen to fetishize guns. Normal gun owners, regular people, because there are a lot of regular people who do exercise their Second Amendment rights. Guess what? The vast majority of them are absolutely fine with common sense gun reforms. Background checks. Bans on high-capacity magazines. I think there's even a slim majority that supports an assault weapons ban. But when it comes to Congress, they don't at all represent the will of the people. They don't represent their constituents. They get to choose their voters. They get tons and tons of money, millions of dollars, from gun manufacturers and special interest groups. And they're allowed to gerrymander their districts and pander to the most extreme right-wing voters. This is how you end up with people like Matt Gaetz. This is how you end up with people like Lauren Boebert. Just insane people that are running, that are ruling over people that don't want them there, but again, don't have the power to be able to remove them. Again, when it comes to overcoming Republican gerrymandering, actually more people have to turn out in record numbers just to be able to overcome those advantages that Republicans have allowed themselves to bake into the system. Now, another thing he says that, they want you afraid of responsible gun ownership. How? This doesn't have any impact on responsible gun owners, as I said before. He's talking absolute nonsense, and what it is this conspiratorial scaremongering about a bill that's incredibly benign, that may or may not save a few lives here and there by warning people to stay clear of an area that has an active shooter. Again, doesn't do anything for the people that are already in the area, that have already been shot or killed by someone who is able to easily get access to a firearm. No. And it's not going to do anything to prevent all the other mass shootings as well, or the other gun violence that is rampant across this country. And let me give you the numbers on that, by the way. According to the Sandy Hook Promise, each day 12 children die from gun violence in America. Another 32 are shot and injured. Guns are now the leading cause of death among American children and teens. 1 out of every 10 gun deaths are the age 19 and younger. Look, gun violence kills more kids than car accidents. It's the #1 cause of death. And even more disastrous is that since the start of this year alone, there have been 23,518 gun-related deaths across the country, and another 20,360 people injured, according to the Gun Violence Archive. But no, it's the alert that's the problem. Shh, don't talk about the numbers of shootings in this country, because then maybe regular people, normal people, will actually want to do something about it, and that's going to affect my profits. It's going to affect my political donations. Well, look, there are people that want to do something. The vast majority of this country. Unfortunately, it's corrupt politicians like Matt Gaetz that continue to stand in the way. All to protect their donors. Disgusting. All right. Moving on. Let's go to a little bit of breaking news before the show. During the end of the last January 6th Select Committee hearing, Representative Liz Cheney had discussed some witness tampering during her closing statement, which kind of teased the possibility of a new witness coming forward. Now, here's what she said. After our last hearing, President Trump tried to call a witness in our investigation, a witness you have not yet seen in these hearings. That person declined to answer or respond to President Trump's call and instead alerted their lawyer to the call. Their lawyer alerted us, and this committee has supplied that information to the Department of Justice. Let me say one more time, she says, we will take any effort to influence witness testimony very seriously. Well, they should, but more importantly, the Department of Justice should, because witness tampering and witness intimidation is illegal. So now, when she said this, there was a lot of speculation about who this person is, where they were. Now we have more information about that. This is according to CNN. They hint that the person could be the next witness that will be shown during the next hearing that will happen in primetime. Here's that report. Former President Donald Trump had tried to call a member of the White House support staff who was talking to the House Select Committee investigating January 6th. Two sources familiar with the matter tell CNN. This is reporters Ryan Noble, Dana Bash, Annie Grayer, and Zachary Cohen that had reported on this. So, yeah, that staffer, that support staff, getting a call by Donald Trump. The support staffer, they continue by saying, was not someone who routinely communicated with the former president and was concerned about the contact. According to the sources, they then informed their attorney, who then talked, of course, to the committee. The call, and this is the interesting timing about this, the call was made after former Trump White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson had testified publicly to the committee. How that relates is that that same staffer was also in position to corroborate part of what Hutchinson had said under oath. What that is, we don't really know. I'm hoping we're supposed to find out very soon. Now, that said, going to Hutchinson, she had some very damning and I think credible testimony. If there's corroboration, so now what things could be corroborated? Well, first let me go into why she's credible. She's not a lefty. Okay, so that's the thing. She's not a left-winger. She's a huge right-winger. She worked for Ted Cruz. She interned for him and worked for Mark Meadows. So this is not somebody that could dismiss as like an Obama holdover somehow, or, you know, somebody who's working for the left to try to bring down Trump. You know, is a very, very conservative person. And I think the January 6th committee has been very smart in doing that, because they don't have to win over the left. They have to win over conservatives, members of the right wing who haven't fallen for the Trump Kool-Aid, basically. And so there are those people out there that are like, oh man, you know, all this evidence, that is pretty bad. Donald Trump did do something wrong. And now the majority of the country, of course, according to polling, wants to see more of this investigation, wants to see more of these hearings, are interested in what the hearings are saying, and also want to see Donald Trump prosecuted. So that's very important here. But again, her credible testimony that could be corroborated. So now, by the way, before her March 7 deposition, she had also received multiple messages from Trump allies saying that she should demonstrate her loyalty to Trump. So that, again, not directly by Trump, but Trump allies attempting to try to influence her testimony. Not good. Now, again, since it's not Trump specifically, it's harder to make the case of witness tampering. But if it's true that Trump actually did call this person directly to pressure them or to threaten them or intimidate them, that's really significant, especially since they were already talking to the committee. So now her testimony, finally getting to that, she had testified that Trump and Meadows were told individuals were carrying weapons on January 6th, including firearms, and that Trump had said, I don't care. I don't care if they're armed. Let them through anyway to the Capitol. They're not here to hurt me. Again, is she going to corroborate that? Or, I'm sorry, is that person going to corroborate Ms. Hutchinson's testimony? Maybe. Hutchinson also recalled the White House counsel Pat Scipione telling Meadows, Mark, we need to do something. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, you heard him, Pat. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think that they're doing anything wrong. So, again, Trump, we know that Trump knew that they were going to come for his vice president, didn't care at all. Yeah, go ahead and murder my vice president. He's not loyal anyway. Whatever. They're going to kill my VP. And if it happens, it happens. I don't really care. I'm with the rioters. I guess he should have been on my side. I guess he should have been more loyal. Not only that, she also said under oath that there were many requests for preemptive pardons. For example, Meadows, Giuliani, Matt Gaetz, Andy Biggs, Scott Perry, and Louis Gohmert had all requested presidential pardons, even though if you didn't do anything wrong, why would you need a preemptive pardon, right? Why would you need a presidential pardon? Oh, right. And so any of this getting corroborated under oath, especially the witness tampering, the witness intimidation, Garland has no excuse not to act. No excuse at all. Slam dunk. Now, of course, we're going to have to see who this person is and what they are going to say, if they're going to testify at all. If this is the mystery witness that can corroborate Hutchinson. We don't know yet. There are more hearings planned. In fact, there are more hearings planned into August now. That suggests to me that there is not just a drip, 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 but there's a torrent now of information and witnesses coming forward. And again, as we've seen, a lot of them have been in former members of the Trump administration themselves. And so I kind of made the mistake of thinking that everybody around Trump was as crazy as he was. Not necessarily. Apparently, the line was trying to end democracy, and they didn't want to cross it. That said, you also had a lot of those same people, who still put their power over a lot of other things, but still did not want to cross the line of ending democracy. It's a really, really low bar, but thankfully, there at least are some Republicans that refuse to go under that bar. Thank goodness for that, right? All right. Moving on. Last story of the day. Amazon has recently admitted that camera footage captured by your Ring devices is regularly handed over to police. That is without your consent and even without a warrant. So now we find this out thanks to questions posed by Senator Ed Markey. So now the company, under questioning, stated that it had provided police with user footage at least 11 times this year alone without a warrant or any consent from the user, from the customer. According to The Intercept, last month, Markey wrote to Amazon asking it to both clarify Ring's ever-expanding relationship with the American police, who've increasingly come to rely on the company's growing residential surveillance dragnet, and to commit to a raft of policy reforms. In a July 1st response from Brian Huseman, Amazon Vice President of Public Policy, the company declined to permanently agree to any of those reforms. No, we're not interested, including to never accept financial contributions from policing agencies. So if this company, Ring, wants to take money from the police, they'll still take money from the police. And gee, I wonder why they're now handing over all of this personal data, all of this surveillance footage over to cops, so you can keep those donations going. Also, to never allow immigration enforcement agencies to request Ring recordings. Didn't promise on that, which means, of course, ICE is going to get that. And to never participate in police sting operations. Now, a lot of this is, of course, wildly against the right to privacy. But Ring says, oh, no, hey, look, we've only handed it over a few times, okay? And it's only under emergency situations, okay? And by the way, their public policy is kind of different than what they had told Markey. They publicized their policy of only handing over camera footage if the owner agrees or if the judge has a search warrant, so they are lying to their consumers. Great. Now, they are claiming, though, that we have the right to supply police with footage in case of emergencies. Well, now, okay, that's a vaguely defined term. So what do they define it as? Cases brought involving imminent danger or death and serious physical injury to any person. Markey asked Amazon to clarify what exactly constitutes this emergency situation and how many times audiovisual surveillance data has been provided under these circumstances. The company declined to elaborate on how it defines these emergencies beyond, again, imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. Again, that is vague. That can mean a lot of different things. If you're not going to be very clear about these situations, then we can't trust you. Now, they stated only that Ring makes a good faith determination whether the request meets the well-known standard. Huseman noted that it complied with 11 emergency requests this year alone, but did not provide details as to what the cases or Ring's good faith determination entailed. That is very, very troubling. As far as I'm concerned, law enforcement lies. Law enforcement lies all the time. It's a fact. And obviously, since these police organizations are not barred from giving money to these companies like Ring, these big tech companies, well, big tech, of course, loves working with police. They love it. They love it. And even if the footage, used ultimately does meet any emergency guidelines and goes to save lives. The fact that we don't know what constitutes a good faith determination, that means that there's no clear rules. So if you're going to set up a ring system, you don't know what to expect with your own data, who it's going to be shared with, for why. And if the cops are going to get their data with probable cause. Remember, the Fourth Amendment is supposed to protect people from unreasonable search and seizure by the government. But now we have a corporation that is determining whether or not they will supply that information to the government. So they're seizing your data and giving it right to the government, all without your knowledge or a warrant. And remember, in order to get a warrant, there has to be probable cause. And now we're having a corporation, we're having Ring being the arbiter of what is probable cause? Seriously? Hell no. No, this is ridiculous. These are unelected corporate executives that are making these decisions. So now how do you protect yourself? Obviously, the first thing is don't get a Ring. But secondly, if you do have one, then Matthew Gariglia, policy analyst with the Electronic Frontier Foundation, he has some advice of how to protect yourself. He told The Intercept that he encourages all Ring owners concerned about warrantless access of their cameras to enable end-to-end encryption, an option the company declined to make the default setting after being urged to do so by Ed Markey. I'm disturbed, Gariglia says, that Ring continues to offer, in any situation, warrantless footage from users' devices, despite the fact that, once again, police are not the customers for Ring. The people who buy the devices are the customers. He added that even though the emergency exception hypothetically might be warranted in the most dire circumstances, there will always be risks of mission creep and police abuse without any meaningful oversight. If there is the infrastructure, if there is the channel by which police can request footage without a warrant or consent of the user, under what circumstances they get is out of our control. I worry that because it's decided by the police and by somebody at Ring, there will be temptation to use that for increasingly less urgent situations. And we do have examples of, police or governmental agencies that are using this data, that are abusing this data. The metadata collection, for example, that revealed by Edward Snowden, that being abused. Of course, the spying in on Muslims in New York. You also had the the NSA spying on U.S. troops that were having phone sex with their wives. And the reason they did it is, well, they could, and no one was there to stop them. In a statement to The Intercept, Markey said that he believed that Amazon and Ring have both lost the benefit of the doubt, despite their purported good faith efforts. I'm deeply concerned to learn that the company has repeatedly disclosed users' recordings to law enforcement without requiring the user's permission, the senator added. This revelation is particularly troubling given that the company has previously admitted to having no policies that restrict how law enforcement can use Ring users' footage, no data security requirements for law enforcement entities that have users' footage, and no policies to prohibit law enforcement officers from keeping Ring users' footage forever. If you care about privacy, you might want to think twice about not getting these devices, and if you do, of course, make sure to encrypt it. Now, unfortunately, we live in a surveillance state where you have a government that doesn't care at all about privacy. At all. And then you have big companies, big corporations, because we live under corporate rule, that are more than willing to cozy up to police in return for donations. To literally sell you out. This is the state of our country. Protect yourself. And your data. All right. That's all I got today. I feel like we got through a lot of stories. All right, so let's see. Marty Darno, thank you for the $2. Thanks for the show. We appreciate it. Well, thank you. I appreciate the donation. Very, very nice of you. Again, it goes to help us out because we don't have corporate sponsors, obviously, because I'd never get away with criticizing corporations. And we don't have big donors. So all I have is you and ads. And we know how much ads suck. So please help us out. Sign up, become a patron or a member, all that wonderful stuff. All right. Since that is it, and since there are no more donations or donos to read, or let's see, memberships, let me go check on that real quick here. Okay. All right. Nothing. All right. So let's figure out who to raid over here on Twitch. Oh yes, reactions, of course. So we're gonna do a TYT raid, and everybody go to reactions. That is Ravana's channel. Ravana, super cool. If you hadn't watched the show that she was on, it was fantastic and a lot of fun. And so, if you haven't, check it out on my YouTube channel. But if you have, join in that raid, and that's over on twitch.tv/TYT. All right, everybody, thank you. Love you all. Really appreciate you. Have a great night, and we will see you all tomorrow. Love you, and remember, change begins with you.
Venezuela.
Mike Pounds.
Tighten up my knee. I'd like my knee tight.
Disappointed!
Obama.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.